Chapter 7 of Building a Railroad by a Self-Made Man. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 7, Struck Down. Work was resumed next morning at the cut, and in a small way all along the line. Don had already been advised that 35 laborers had left Pittsburgh en route for Lakeview. This time he determined to take no chances with them, so he went over to Glendale by boat and took an early afternoon train for Fairfax, where he expected to connect with the train carrying the Italians. They came through in a smoking car. Don alternated between the platform and a seat near the door. He had to keep on watch, as the train, which was a local, made frequent stops. He could not tell but an agent of Andrew Newman might make his appearance at any moment and try to coax the laborers to light out for parts unknown. However, nothing of that kind occurred during the run to Glendale, and so Don got his men aboard the steamer and up to Lakeview all right. And now work progressed with more rapidity than ever before. During the ensuing month great progress was made at the cut and along the road between that point and Lakeview. A new gang was put to work under a man named Farrell. They were grading the line between the upper end of the spur of the hill and the cliff where the tunnel was to be bored. Everything was running smoothly, and Don had begun to hope that Newman had finally concluded to keep his hands off. "Nothing like handling men of his stamp without gloves," he said to his brother one day when he felt in a particularly happy frame of mind over the situation. "That's right," agreed Gil with a boyish grin. "Mr. Harley seems perfectly satisfied with the work as far as it has gone," said Don in a contented tone. Mr. Harley was the engineer in charge of the D.P.&Q., and he had just been over that part of the line under construction. Don had all his carts at work, either clearing the land between the right-of-way boundaries or carting the waste excavation taken out above where the shovel was employed in the cut. Trees and brush had to be cut close to the surface of the ground and then burned or otherwise disposed of. The excavated soil was taken down to the lake and dumped in the spot where the boys proposed to build their summer hotel. "Next week," Don went on, "I'll have the drills down here, and we'll make a beginning on the cliff rock." Gil nodded, as the idea struck him favorably. He liked to see things humming at all points. "How about the factory people and the carriage site? We are filling in the ground fast now, and it's beginning to look something like a plot. I thought the vice president was coming over this morning. Didn't I mention the fact to you? No? Well, he was at the office at 11 o'clock, according to appointment. He handed me a check for $500 and took a 60-day option on the property. It's practically a sale. We paid only $800 for the ground as it then stood. Our profit will be over $4,000, and we shall not have held it over 4 months at the outside." Gil's eyes sparkled. "All things come to those who have long heads, meaning you, for I never would have thought of that scheme." "Well, it's all in the firm, Gil," replied Don, patting his brother affectionately on the back. "By the way, have you managed to catch sight of Nellie yet?" Gil shook his head. "No, I was on top of the cliff this morning within a stone's throw of the Kelso cottage, but she was not to be seen." "I guessed as much," said his brother, stroking his chin thoughtfully. "But I must say I'm disappointed. I wanted to hear how she was doing. I don't trust Jim Kelso for a red cent. He's capable of a whole lot of villainy. A woman, who I judge to be Mrs. Kelso, piped me off all right. She's got a face that would turn milk sour on sight. I dare say she's well worthy of Jim. It makes my blood boil to think that poor girl is under the thumb of such a couple, not to speak of Jerry, who is capable of browbeating the life out of her." "It certainly is a shame," admitted Gil, "but I don't see that we have any right to interfere." "That remains to be seen. I've taken an interest in that girl, and I don't propose to see her abused if I can help it," said Don in a decided tone. Gil said no more on the subject. He felt sorry for the girl, as he might have felt for anyone whom he believed to be entitled to his sympathy, but he did not have the same interest in her that Don had. "Well, I've got some directions to give Farrell," said Don, preparing to mount his horse. "I'll see you on my way back. You'd better hurry then, for it looks like rain." "Pooh, a little water won't hurt me," laughed the boy as he gave his animal the rein. There was a trail running around the spur of the hill through which the cut was being excavated. This came close to the margin of the lake at one spot, and then made a detour along the base of the hills in the direction of the cliff. Don cantered along without paying any attention to the ominous appearance of the heavens, which threatened a good shower, if not worse. To say the truth, he was thinking of blind Nellie. He was wondering how things were going with her since the day he knocked Jim Kelso out under the cliff. The boy was far more interested in the beautiful and unfortunate girl than he was willing to admit to himself. As he approached the curve in the trail near the lake, it began to rain a bit. This aroused him, and he urged his animal to a more rapid pace. The clouds seemed to be closing in on the landscape, which took on a particularly dreary aspect. There was nothing to be seen but the leaden-colored water on the one side. The brush-covered hills were on the other, the white face of the cliff coming into view in the distance. Don observed a stout boat drawn in close to the shore, and was somewhat surprised to see it there. The rain continued to fall at intervals until he came up with Farrell and his gang. A string of carts were plodding to and coming back from the lake shore. Farrell came up as soon as he saw him. "Let me have your plan," said Don, alighting from his horse. The foreman took it from his pocket. "There's going to be some change here," said the boy, indicating the spot on the blueprint. "Mr. Harley was speaking to me about it a while ago. A culvert over that little stream will go here instead of there. The course of the waterway seems to have been altered a bit by the late spring rains, and we have to provide for that by running the embankment a yard or so to the right. See?" "I understand, sir." "I'm going to send you a dozen more men tomorrow to push this thing along, for I'm going to get at that cliff right away. Some of the men who deserted us a month ago have applied for work, and I'm going to take them on. The steam drills and the boiler will be brought up by the end of the week." "All right, sir." Don spent 3/4 of an hour with Farrell, by which time it was beginning to grow dark. "I'll be out here sometime in the morning," said the young engineer as he rode off, taking the trail back the way he came. The rain, which had held off during his stay with the upper gang, now began to come down in earnest. "It's plain that I'll be soaked before I get back to the cut," soliloquized Don. He put the spurs to his horse and galloped along at a good pace. As the animal was taking the turn at the point nearest the lake, he suddenly shied, almost throwing the boy. "Whoa, Prince!" he exclaimed soothingly. "What's the matter, old boy?" Then somebody sprang out of the gloom and seized the horse by the bridle. 2 Italians appeared on the other side and grabbed hold of Don. "Hello, what's this?" he exclaimed, striking at one with his short whip. Something very like a stone struck him in the head from behind, and he fell forward on his horse's neck unconscious. End of chapter 7.